Welcome to the Xterity Video Tutorial Series Episode 14, Deploying Microsoft Desktop as a Service using Xterity DaaS Server Image. Today we're going to talk about using the Xterity DaaS Server Image to deploy Microsoft Desktop as a Service implementations out on the Xterity Cloud. Xterity has received a large number of requests from partners regarding DaaS offerings. In order to make it easier for partners to deploy DaaS solutions or DaaS offerings when the partner doesn't have a lot of experience doing this, Xterity has provided a simplified server image that includes a quick deployment script for the initial deployment. This is not only there to assist partners to deploy the environment quickly. It doesn't provide a complete all-around solution for long-term management of this solution. This is still left up to the partner to complete per the normal agreement. For sizing recommendations, you can find some information available at the link displayed here. This link will also be included in the description in the video below. In addition, there's some prerequisites. You're going to have access to an Active Directory domain. This domain can be an existing domain, either in the cloud or accessible via site-to-site VPN at the remote customer's site. It can also be a newly created domain in the cloud. You'll need the IP address of one or more DNS servers in the Active Directory domain. You'll need the name of the Active Directory domain and the username and password for a user account in the Active Directory domain that has domain administrator privileges. So in order to perform the work, what you're going to need to do is open up Cloud Console, as you can see here. You can do this with an existing environment, for example, the one that I'm looking at here, which I've already got some DaaS servers and a domain controller there. You can also create a new environment that doesn't have anything in it and get this done. If you don't have access to a domain controller, you'll need to include a domain controller there that you'll have to build out prior to completing the work on the DaaS offering. So once you're ready, you can create this and edit in Designer. And in order to do the build, you'll need to, under Servers, locate this Windows 2019 Desktop as a Service server image and drag it out. Then you can click through, set the name, include processing per the guidelines. On the networking page, click Modify, set the public IP, click OK. Under boot disk, set the size that you want. If you want to put all of your storage on your C drive or for your user profiles, either whether that's a normal user profile or a profile disk, you'll do that here by setting the size to whatever you wish. If you wish to put information for user profiles or other storage on a separate drive, you can add that here. 1 unit, set the size. Under Applications, you're going to click Add, go down near the bottom, find Remote Desktop Services, click that and set the number of licenses that you're going to want. Now, this is per configured user. Click OK. You won't need to add any services for this configuration unless you have other specific needs. Under OS Properties, you can set the domain if you want or leave it blank, and then update the server. The last thing you need to do is set up the firewall, and you're going to need to add a rule from any to the new server. If you want to be able to ping it, you can choose ICMP, and there'll be 2 ports needed. The first port is your standard TCP 443 HTTPS, and you'll need to add a custom port, which will be UDP. This is going to be the Remote Desktop Server Gateway, and that's going to be 3391. Click OK, and you'll notice at the top that this port was added and is already selected. So click OK, and click OK. Once this is completed, you'll now be able to click Save and Build, and this will be built out with this new Desktop as a Service server ready to go for you to do the quick setup. I've already got one here ready, so let's go and work on that. And remember, we can do this in an existing environment or a new environment. So once the server is ready, you right click, go to Console, and you're going to log in. Okay, I'm going to log in. So what's going to happen is it'll be a normal login, and then once you get logged in, there'll be a PowerShell script that'll come up and it will step you through the initial process. The initial part of this process is to join this server to the domain. This is why you need to have access to an Active Directory domain for the script. But the most important reason is that the Remote Desktop Services product and offering from Microsoft requires Active Directory to function in its entirety and doesn't actually get set up or work without being joined to a domain. So here's you're going to need the IP address of the DNS server, and if you are doing this in Xterity, you can look at this under networking here for your domain controller 10.101.3.3, and so we will say no, we will say 10.101.3.3. And if we have another DNS server we want to add, we can enter it here. We can continue to do this until we have entered all of our DNS servers. Once you're done adding them, just hit enter, and it will ask for your domain. Enter your domain, hit enter, and ask for the domain admin account for the xteritycloud.com domain or whichever one you've put in. And once you've verified that the information you've put in is correct, use the Y key, and then you'll get a pop-up asking for the password for this domain for the administrator account that you put in. Enter the password, and what will happen is once this is completed adding the domain, the server will be rebooted per normal domain join purposes. Note that while the offering in video here is specific to the Microsoft Remote Desktop Services offering, that's primarily because this is the most frequently requested offering that we get from our partners. The Xterity Cloud is also capable of handling installations and offerings that partners wish to use that come from Citrix or from VMware, such as VMware Horizons. And as you can see, now that the server has booted, we are going to log into the server again, and it's important that you log in as a domain admin to the server. In order to do this, just like we did before, you're going to log in as this administrator or a user account that's a domain admin. And this will also start the same PowerShell script, but it will start with a different set of questions since it will have already determined that you have logged in as a domain admin. If you log in as a non-domain admin, it will then indicate that you need to log out and log back in as a domain admin, which will then run the script again. Any of these errors are caught and handled, so if you do make a mistake, it will tell you and give you instructions on what the next steps are if you so that you are clarified and know exactly what's going on. And as we can see, the PowerShell script has started here. You may get your normal server startup, but we will be waiting for this PowerShell script to run. If you notice down here, they pop up over with the server manager for Windows, you can always minimize or close that in order to keep the PowerShell window in the foreground. The first thing it's going to do here is it's going to install the Active Directory PowerShell module. It needs to do this in order to validate that your account is a domain admin account, plus it's a couple of other housekeeping activities that need to be done in order to complete the setup. So we'll also check that the remote desktop services feature is already there, and that should be normal. You'll want to now add in the external address for your access to the remote desktop services gateway. This will be the public DNS name that you will use. In this case, we'll do DaaS demo.xteritycloud.com. I'm going to enter your name or the name of a person in your partner that is responsible for handling licensing or Xterity information. Name of your company. The number of license users that you wish to add. In this case, remember we used 5, so we'll request 5. And now it will go ahead and do the installation configuration of the remote desktop services role. This will probably take a few minutes, and once it's complete, it will ask you to press enter and reboot the server automatically. The script will reboot the server, and when it's up and ready, it will now be ready for you to use and use for remote desktop services. So I have the first one already set up. So what we will do is we will remote desktop in here. So DaaS demo. We're going to add remote desktop in as a user that we requested an account for through the normal setup for Active Directory user accounts. When the setup script does the work, it automatically links the domain users group within the domain to the ability to log in with remote desktop services. So you're going to hit connect. As you could see, it errored out. So that's because before you do this work, you need to come to click Show Options here in Remote Desktop, come to Advanced and click Settings. You'll need to specify the server name here for the Remote Desktop Gateway server and click OK. Once you've done that, you can click Connect, and this will work to log you in, allow you to log in as the user for the remote desktop services offering. Any user that you have an account for here will work. And once you've entered the password, you just click OK, and this will initiate the remote connection. And as you can see here, we've logged in, and we'll be getting a normal desktop for your users. You can do anything you need to do here with applications or any other type of offering that you might normally offer with remote desktop services. So as you can see, this is simple and straightforward to get remote desktop services deployed and running. Note that this doesn't provide management or configuration capability going forward from when the server is initially set up. And this is intended for partners that at least have some basic understanding of how to deal with Active Directory, but may not be as familiar with initial setup for remote desktop services with the gateway offering. That's all we have for today. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time. Goodbye.